Happy Sunday, everybody. It is June 8th, 2025. This is Daryl with the Fort Dumpster Dash coming back at you. We're actually heading out to grab a dumpster tonight, so hopefully it'll be a non-event, pretty easy peasy. But the other day, my daughters were riding with me, and they are huge fans of picking up dumpsters. No, they're not into it, which I get it. But it got me thinking about, like, when I was a kid, things were completely different. My dad had like an old, I think it was a C65 or 7500 Chevrolet. It barely had brakes. I don't know how much it was rated for. I don't think it was rated for like 16 and 18 ton what he used to put on it. Anyways, totally different situation. So they're riding around with the AC, blasting music. We're rocking APT and all the Megan Trainer songs that you can stand, right? So, but I remember one time my dad picked up some cedar posts or cedar poles, like log poles from a gentleman, Richard Kennedy, and Richard had a bigger logging outfit than what my dad had, and my dad, I forgot what the length of the truck was, but I was probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 at the time, and that's kind of the age my daughters are now. My oldest was 9, 6, and 2, but I was probably about that age. And I remember I was sitting in the passenger side of this log truck, with no seatbelt. There's like tools everywhere. Like if we would have hit something, it would have just been like a buckshot of flying debris all over the place, right? And we was going up the hill, and the logs were sticking out so far in the back, it acted as a counterweight. And we're driving up this, God, I was nervous, to say the least. And so we're going up this hill. Whoop, that dropped you. Going up this hill, and I just start seeing just the sky. So it goes, the weight of the logs, brought the front of the truck like off the ground, right? So immediately I'm just like, deuces, I'm out. I fly out the door, and I feel like I hit the ground with my legs running. And the only thing I could hear my dad saying was, close my door. So I had to like get my bearing a little bit and run back up there and like climb up the truck to close the door where you could see where the, I don't know why you need that for, but anyways, so Richard came up behind him and picked him up with the skidder. I don't know if he picked him up or pulled him, but it's just like a completely different animal than what my daughters are, which is good, right? Like that's what you want. You want better for your kids than what you have for yourself. And I was talking about this the other day with a gentleman. My dad also had a sawmill, and so he had a circular sawmill. And I know I was in first grade when this happened, because I remember Miss Akins was my teacher, and I was off bearing the sawmill, right? So I don't know if you can imagine it, but you probably Google it. It's like a circular sawmill. So he's on the other side of this platform operating the carriage that runs the logs back and forth, and it takes strips out of the logs with the saw blade, right? And so, like, at the time, I was like, okay, this is a normal, this is a normal thing for a first grader, And so it was. He would rip a log and the slab or whatever would fall off, and I was so tiny, I had to drag it. Like I couldn't drag the lumber. Sometimes it was so big, like oak and stuff like that, super heavy. And so I remember if I had to tell him something, I had to like go around and crawl over like the shaft where the motor is powering this pulley, and that pulley is connected to another pulley, and it is run down to where the saw blade is, and that's what turns the saw blade, right, when it's going. And I just remember stepping over that thing, and I was so short that would catch it would rub me, like it would hit my legs, right? And thinking back on it, I'm like, man, if that thing ever would have caught my pants or something like that, I'd have been a memory, And to come to think of it, that's probably where all my anxiety comes from as an adult, is all the stressful crap my dad did. But it was good. I don't look back on it and think negatively. I think it's kind of funny, right? Like I think it's hilarious, and I can't imagine my daughters doing anything like that, right? Like which is it's good and bad, right? Like it's good because they're not deathly, a situation like death situation day out, day in and day out. But it's bad because I feel like I had such a great time as a kid. Like we didn't have a lot of money, but I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like it just was what it was, right? And so, it's funny. I mean, another time, my dad, I run the skidder. My dad had an old John Deere 440B skidder. It was a cable skidder, and he was one of those dudes that would like cut a tree and it would fall wherever it would, he would put it wherever he wanted it to, right? And so we was behind my uncle James's house, and there was this big pine tree, and my dad had me on the skidder, right? I'm young, like I'm 7 or like probably maybe 7, like I'm young, and so I'm on the skidder, and he's got a fence post, like a metal T-post, on the blade of the skidder, because I couldn't get to the tree because it was behind the shed and in between a fence, right? And so I'm pushing. I had the blade with the T-post on it, pushing a pine tree that's probably, I don't know, 20, 30, 24 inches in diameter, right? Pretty good sized pine tree's been there forever. And so he's telling me to push. I can't see him because he's cutting the tree below the blade. And so I'm running a fine line of not pushing it so hard it bends the T-post and lets it come back on us. And I'm also in the situation where I don't see him. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know. I could run up. You know what I mean? If I go too far, I might run him over, which is not the thing you want to do to your dad, right? Like that's frowned upon. What's those brothers? The 2 brothers got in trouble for that. Yeah, but we're not doing that. But again, it's just so funny. The times have changed so much. God, I could go on and on. There's another story, and this will be more of a thing for my kids too. They can kind of look back on and catch my stories, and because that's one thing I do miss about my dad is the stories, right? Like we used to all the things we used to do, like the trees, like the smell of pine. Like I don't know if any of y'all are like this, but like pine or smells bring back memories for me. Like if it could be the weirdest thing too, like if I get behind a chip truck, like a truck with a bunch of pine chips in it. I don't pass them usually. I just kind of let it sit there and just kind of reminisce a little bit about the past and whatnot, which is nice to do. But I try to tell my kids about, my dad and how it was when I was a kid, and they cannot fathom the stuff. Like they don't understand, which is good. That means I'm doing okay, right? Like it could be worse. But we'd go down the mountain there at Cobburn Gap coming from Dogtown, and it was a pretty steep mountain, right? None of my dad's equipment had brakes on it, and so he probably weighed 130 pounds. He was not a big fellow, but his hands were like probably twice as big as mine was from just gripping a chainsaw his whole life or whatever. But he would be over there and he'd chain smoke. He chain smoked dadgum cool menthols. And I think I can't. That's why I can't handle smoking. Like I can't do it. I can't handle it. And so the old window that he had, the window didn't work. The handle was off, right? And so I'm over there just soaking up the cool menthols. And there was I don't know if you know, but there's on the older trucks there was a third, probably like a quarter of it was like a flip. Like you flip it and it would like direct air into you. So we had that on the truck, but the bottom of it's broken, so it was just like dangling. So I'm sitting over there like holding this window kind of open to catch just a minute amount of fresh air coming in on me. We're hitting Cobburn Gap, and my dad's trying to catch a different gear, like a lower gear, right, to keep it from like just taking off with us, right? So I'm nervous. He's got both hands under the steering wheel with both feet on the brake, just getting the RPMs down low enough where he could like catch the gear. I'm over there hitting my imaginary brake, trying to help him out in the situation because my butt was puckered. It puckered every time. He did that every time. Like every time it seemed like we were just going to go sailing off the mountain, and that was going to be it. But one time they did years ago. They did construction on the mountain. So the Cobburn Gap, they tore out like it was eroding and it was falling off. Like just land. I don't know, probably wasn't made. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't stable. So they came in and they ripped everything out. And so the culvert gap was closed for a long time. But they had my dad come up there and get logs from them when they had all the big equipment up there, and he'd come up there and they'd just load him up with logs and he would go to the wood yard. And so one day, we're coming back and he's like, I'm going up culvert gap. And I'm like, well, it's closed. You know, it's closed. You can't, rules are rules, right? And so he's like, I'm going up culvert gap. I'm like, all right. So I'm freaking out because I don't want to go to jail. I'm just young. I didn't realize we're not probably going to jail for that, right? I was just nervous. And so, so we go up culvert gap, and there's a 30-foot, just where they cut the road out, but it was almost dagging. I mean, it was pretty a big incline. We would not make it up it. And so we're going. There's got these guys working, and my dad's just weaving in and out of it. I'm like, holy cow, we're in the middle of this job site right here, and what are we doing? And so we hit this. I'm like, we're stopping. There's no going up this hill. So he hits it and just stops. We're at an angle. I'm sitting here oh man, we're busted now. We're in some trouble. Next thing I know, a dozer comes up behind us, hits us, and just pushes us the right way up the hill. He already had it all set up. He, that was the game plan from the beginning. But it's just those kind of stories like that just hit me. I just remember them, and it was a good time. Now, I say we didn't get into it. We got into it quite a bit because, as anyone knows, working with your parents can be stressful. So, at the end of it got to a point where I had to go do something else, you know what I mean? Because I was coming home. But one time, I'm just going to go through my whole, all my stories, I guess. But one time, it was 3:30. And so you had to be at the wood yard by 4 to get unloaded and then, be out of there by 4:30 when they close. So we was working over in Dogtown somewhere. I'm from Dogtown, up the road from Licks Hill. Yeah, in case you never heard of that. But anyways, so he's loading up and he goes to pull out. It was a single axle log truck, right, with the old log standards or whatever, and it sinks. The back tire sinks. So my dad had a slight temper, a massive temper. Anyways, so he's pissed. He is pissed. He's like, get behind me and push me. And so I'm like, all right. So I get behind him in the skidder and I'm pushing him, and I feel like I'm pushing way too hard for the truck to handle, right? And so I stop. He's kind of irritated that I stopped pushing, right? So then he's like, all right, you got to get in front of me and you're going to pull me with the winch. And the winch on this Joker was it was huge. It was a massive winch. I wish I still had that thing. I mean, I kind of got to a place now where I could have had it, I could have restored it or whatever. But for years, I couldn't. That was not in the on the list of things to accomplish, right? Anyways, so I get in front of him with a skidder and I hook the cable up to it. And I'm starting to pull him, and the winch, it's like a big hydraulic winch or something, but it starts skipping. It's boom, 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 boom. So I stop, and he's pissed. At this point, he is fit to be tied, right? He's like, get behind me and push me. I don't care if you break this truck in half. So I'm like, okay. So I get behind him, and I put, I think I locked the differential. They had a little foot pedal beside it on the left. I hit it, and I think it's supposed to lock all the time. I mean, the thing is a beast anyway. I mean, it's pretty much. It's not like the animals they have nowadays logging. I mean, those things are different stories. But for what we were doing, that was plenty. It was an old cable skidder, anyways, and it would pull. It worked hard. I mean, it was a great machine. And so, so I got behind him. I didn't let off of it. I pushed. The standard started breaking. They had big I-beams for on the floor, on the bottom part of his log truck, and he had the big cylinder metal piece he welded on it, and I snapped them. I'd have broke that damn thing truck in half. I already got in trouble twice for not pushing it. So come to find out, what we had to do is what we should have done in the beginning was unload it and move the truck up and then reload it, right? That would have been a lot quicker and a lot less than a pain in the butt. But I guess, and kind of another story was that where we lived at there in Dogtown, we had my dad would ride in the backyard with these loads of logs for years. I mean, it's probably 30 years, right? You would figure the ground would be hardened from all that, right? And so one day he was going through there, and the truck buried to the frame. Like the tire sank and it hit the frame. So there was nothing that we could do to get it out. We didn't have a loader there, and so again we had the skidder, and my dad was like, all right, hook up. And it was an open cab skidder, right? Like there wasn't like the stuff now where you have the AC and the radios, and not a grapple. It was just a basic open cab skidder. Anyways, so on those chokers, there's a cable and there's a metal ball that you plug into hook up to the other side of the choker, and it kind of like cinches it like a rope, like a noose or something like that onto the log, and that's what keeps it holding the log. When you drop them, it releases the pressure and go back down and hook the cable or the choker, and you just winch it out and take off. So I had that choker hooked to my dad's log truck on a hook, or what it was. Anyway, so he's like, we're gonna try pulling it out, and so I start winching, and I hear a pop and a bing, like just the loudest noise, right? And so I couldn't figure. I was like, man, something happened. And so come to find out, that little ball of metal that's holding, at the end of the choker, holding it on, it popped off and it hit the back of the cab. Like if it would have hit me, no more Daryl, right? Like I'd have been done for. But it's just funny to think about like those situations. And at the time, I thought it was. It was normal, right? During the time and the blah blah blah, that was just the thing, right? But now it's like, God, I worry about leaving my daughter at home for like 30 minutes, right, by herself, or something, just something crazy. I know they're fine, but it's like, it's just different animal. Like I had one of my buddies. Jesus, this guy's hauling butt. I had one of my buddies. After high school, I won't name names or anything, but he's a great guy. And he's like, Daryl, I always felt bad for you, right? I'm like, why did you feel bad for me? He's like, we didn't even have a shower. And I was like, I didn't have a shower, but it never, there's worse situations, right? Like I'm not saying, but it's like, it's just funny. Everything's relative, right? And but my daughters, they're like, we're going to McDonald's every other day or every few days, right? I try to do it all the time, but it's like, we'd get McDonald's like once a month, and it was like a big deal at that point. Like, like, oh shit, we got McDonald's. It's gonna be a good day. But I just go on and on about stories about my dad. He was a wild man, that was for sure. Oh, so about the truck, when the cable popped off, right, and it hits back at the skidder, like we're done pulling it with that skidder, right? Like there's nothing that one can do. So there's a guy named I think his name was Donnie Hester. He was a logger. I don't know where all these people are now, but he was a logger, and he was cutting off a big tract of timber close by. So he had the larger skidders. Like he had the big grapple skidders, right? Like you go through and you clear out acres of a track in a day or whatever. It was a big deal. And so we ended up going over there, and he brought over a big skidder and just picked up the truck and moved it over like 3 feet, and that was it, right? So sometimes jobs aren't that bad when you have the right stuff to do the job with, right? But another funny story. So this kind of type of my dad was. He would there's a guy, he sold all the equipment to Donnie, right? And so I don't know what kind of deal had to work out, but it was like if all the timber had to go to the wood yard, and he got like a cut of the wood that was hauled there, right? So if he's not moving wood, the other guy's not getting paid, and that's not fun for anybody, right? Because he wants to get paid for his equipment. Donnie wants to get timber out to get make money too, right? So I was so young during all this. I may have remembered this wrong, but they had these huge D-limbers, and I was the D-limber with my dad. Like he'd cut a tree down, he'd be like, all right, go trim it. I'd run up and trim it. But they have these other things where, like in these bigger operations, they have it sets on the end of a wood. All these guys do logging, they know about it, but like it's really cool because it's like a big loader, and then they had this thing at the end of the loader that would, like, you take the tree and you drag it through it, and I think it has like blades or something, and it just snaps and it just cuts all the limbs off of it. So if you have a straight pine tree, rip it through that thing, it's limbs, and you're done. And at the, like, when you get to a certain point, there's like a saw blade, and you hit it. I guess they hit another button on their joystick, and it's like, and it cuts the end of the pine tree off, right? And so we was going over there, and they stopped working. I forgot the other. I think Kelly was working with me. Anyways, but this big delimber was just like folded over, like it fell over, and the hydraulic lines was holding it, and it was a bad situation, right? Like it looked like an expensive whoopsie. But I forgot, it sheared off all the bolts. Like they were like, I don't know how many bolts around it, but it was a bunch. Like, I mean, it gets put through a lot of stress, so it needs to be pretty sturdy. But whatever it was, it run its course, and it fell over. And so the guy that owned that sold the equipment rolled up and was about to, I think, chew some booty or whatever it was, you know, like get onto somebody about it. And my dad was there, and my dad was like, you know, who sold him this piece of, you know, and just kind of got onto him before it got sent, you know what I mean? Like, I thought that was kind of cool. And he got, you know, left, and then the guy was like, I appreciate you doing that. But it's like, he would always do some crazy shenanigans like that. But anyways, well, man, I have been going on this thing for a while, rambling about nonsense. But I guess all in all, the thing of the night, my thoughts were is just like, you know, kids are, it's wonderful the situation sometimes that we're in that we can provide for our kids, right? Like, as I'm getting older, I see that's the reason, you know, like, why do I do 90%, 95, 98% of what I do is for my kids. And I want to build them something that's better than what, not to say that I had it bad, right? Like, it all, it served a purpose. Either A, you know, it helps me see what I could do and where I was doing and where I could do better. Or B, you know, like, honestly, I don't want to work my butt off. Like, I don't mind the work, you know, but like, there's a point where I'm going to get old, you know, I'm feeling it, right? Like, I'll sneeze and I'll throw my back out. So I'm saying, kind of to that point. But it's like, I just want to do right by my kids, right? I'm assuming everybody's like that, right? And but it's hard to make them realize, I don't know what the word is, but it's hard for them to show them and tell them stories about what it could be like and what it was like. Not necessarily that it was bad, but that it was a completely different animal than what they're used to. Like, my daughter has been after me about going to Ulta, the makeup place. She's 9. And she's been doing, I mean, she's really, like, she's really good now. Like, you know, earlier on in her makeup and career, she looked like Pennywise the clown coming out with some crazy crap on, or an Indian war painting. But she's got really good at it, so I think she's got a future there. But anyways, but nope, so we had nothing to talk about for dumpsters, just me reminiscing down memory lane and boring y'all with my stories of debauchery as a child. I've got many of them, but you know, on the plus side of this, my daughters can look at this one day and be like, you know, kind of, you know, can go back to it, I guess. But anyways, God, I've been going 23 minutes. All right, well, we're heading to pick up a dumpster, and then we're going to dump a dumpster probably tomorrow afternoon sometime. I've got to do some work in the morning and go do some things, and we'll do that. But if you happen to need a dumpster, or if you, I guess that's about it. If you need a dumpster, give me a call. All right, y'all have a good night. Bye.